Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Us.
How are you all doing? Welcome again to Hombu Dojo podcast. Today, we have a special guest. We have Tommy Butler Sensei.
Deep bows.
Morning, Tommy Sensei.
Good morning. How are we, man?
Tommy Sensei joins us on the 5th day of Kangeko at the Hombu Dojo here in Dublin.
5th day.
2 to go.
Today was the toughest day for me. I really struggled to get out of bed this morning.
Yeah.
Really struggled.
I'm feeling it now. It's setting
A long
in.
time to warm up.
Because we do a certain amount of training per week anyway, and this week it's that much training plus 7 hours.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
Just a lot.
Yeah.
It's a heavy week, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great, though.
I'm feeling it in my groin. My groin's feels like vice.
Definitely groins tight.
Man,
sure.
it's so bad.
So who is Tommy Sensei?
Who's Tommy Sensei? Tommy Sensei is a Godan, 5th Dan, with the HDKI. He has trained with everyone and anyone. He's been in quite a few organisations, quite a few groups. You've been floating about for a while.
Yeah.
He's a senior member here at the Hombu Dojo in Dublin. And one of the senior guys. If anyone has any questions, anyone looking for extra help and advice, they go to Tommy Sensei.
They do.
Cool. So how long have you been training, Tommy?
Training about 28 years.
Jesus.
Yeah. Longer than some people in the room here, but we won't say anything about that.
Why did you start karate, Tommy?
Because of the turtles.
Oh,
How
really?
cool were the turtles?
The turtles.
Come
Who's
on,
your favourite turtle?
Donatello, because of the bow.
The bow.
Yeah, I love the bow. It's my favourite weapon.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's they were good. Like they were cool. They were massive influence. And because I was small as well, we all used to get bullied and stuff. So I was small, so it made sense to do karate,
Yeah.
or do a martial art, should I say? So yeah, love it. Never look back. Never look back. Started out with ITKF, who would have been Kawazawi's group at the time in Cork, and trained with them. I got my shot on with them after about 8 years. So I took my time, because obviously you're in school and you've got life and everything. I was doing loads of stuff. I was trained to be a lifeguard. I was cross-country team. I was doing all sorts of stuff. So I took my time, Then I was with them. Then after that, we moved over to Aidan Trimble's group for a good chunk of time as well. But a good 10 years with Aidan Trimble, Sensei. And that was fantastic. He really opened up our eyes to how to move and how to fight and how to use your body and how the body, especially how the body reacts when you hit it, because we don't do enough hitting. But that's another concept. We'll get into that in a minute.
We'll
get into that in a minute.
The hardest I've ever been hit is Aidan Trimble.
Yeah.
Aidan Trimble, he was teaching for us one of our summer courses that we have up in Tala, and he was teaching Yokogeri Kikomi, which he's excellent at.
Vicious.
And he was perfect control the whole day. Like literally tapping my dogi, no more. And he was trying to get people to do it as someone was coming in Oizuki. And they weren't really getting it. People were stepping in and punching, they were kicking late, they were trying to push, their leg wasn't extending out probably, they were getting they were getting jammed with the kick, and he was like, nobody's getting it, yummy. And he's like, Ross, come out and punch Oizuki. And he did, and he didn't tell me what he was going to do, and I got halfway and he fucking just cut me in half, man. For a good 2 minutes, man. I couldn't breathe.
Amazing.
I walked over, AJ was pissing himself laughing at me, and I walked over and I was like, and he's like, Ross, are you okay?
Yeah,
And I was like, I can't breathe.
He's amazing.
For about 2 minutes, I had to sit off at the side and recuperate,
Yep.
But yeah, Aidan's
He's fantastic. He's brilliant. And he's a big man. You'd never think he is a pair of legs like he has.
Yeah.
To be fair, and that's no disrespect.
think
He is
a
just a
guy
big
looks
man in
like
general.
that could
Yeah.
kick
And he
Jordan.
just, like, I remember when I came back from travelling from Australia, I remember I went to his dojo on the way home via the UK. And I was pretty fit when I came back from Australia because I was training a lot in Australia, and I came back and I was like, I haven't seen Aidan Sensei now in 2.5 years. It was great to see him now, and blah, blah, blah. So in the dojo, I was like, okay, I'm just go down here and do a bit of work on Bob. The Bobs.
Yeah. Everyone
The
knows.
stand-up yoke, the dummies, yeah.
yeah.
And so let's just practice Orm Wash. And he went Orm Wash, and Bob's head literally went, tunk! It just folded in two. Like, it just, boom, boom. And I was like, just practice that connection. And I remember I kicked and it was like, boop. Bob looked at me and went, seriously, that's it? That's it? Bring back the big guy. It was amazing.
So after Aidan Trimble...
After Aiden Sensei, then I joined up with Scott Sensei and JKS, and the rest is kind of history, really, you know. Here we are, to this day. Plugging away, ploughing away.
And you moved from Cork up to Dublin.
Yeah, nearly 4 years ago now, yeah.
Yeah, not long after I moved here.
Yeah.
Not long after Rue, or just before you probably.
Just before I joined the dojo, I'd say,
jumped
yeah.
into the dojo.
Yeah.
So we've been training together for a good while. But you moved up for you're a full-time.
It was work. It was
full-time
work,
chef, yeah.
Yeah. So it was work. So I got the job as the executive chef in Stillorgan, and I was in the hotel for about a year, just over a year and a bit, and then job came up in the city centre where I am now in the Radisson, so I took that one on then instead because city centre are a bit more of a better location and just generally a better property in general, you know. So I was like, yeah, a lot more.
But being a chef I think everybody knows being a chef is a really demanding job. People talk about the unsociable hours, yada, yada, yada. How did you find time, Tommy Sensei, to get so good at karate?
I think it's like you're always trying to be better at karate than you are. You know what I mean? You're always pushing the boundaries. And I think the good thing about the dojo here, first of all, is the fact that I can get down in the mornings or the evenings. I have the choice. You know what I mean? Obviously, I like the morning because it's a lot tougher. It's much more challenging. But, like it's the freedom to be able to get here in the mornings that really helps my schedule because I can get in, then come down to whatever, here at 8 and we finish up around 9:30, give or take. And then I'm into the kitchen by 10. Then I have the day. If it's busy, I'll stay late. If it's quiet, I'll knock off early. I don't have to be rushing out at 5:30 or 6 to get up to the dojo for 7 to get in 2 hours or hour, whatever it is, So I think, first of all, the freedom to get here early in the mornings or in the evenings is great. Do you know what I mean? I think, second of all, you're saying about stress and pressure and kitchens, and they are hot and heavy environments. They're amazing, but they can be ruthless and tough at the same time. So I think that one does need a balance in life, and I think that is where the training keeps me calm. I think anybody who's worked with me will say I am a very calm chef. I am a very, steady chef as opposed to some people who are out there. Of course, I have moments when I blow my gasket, there is no doubt. But again, that's the environment. We all have our moments. I'm not a saint. I'm not saying I'm a saint, just in case any chefs are listening.
This feeling of dodge the pan.
Yeah, dodge the pan, dodge the duck. Yeah. No, we all have our moments, of course, and that's just life, you know what I mean? Like, shit happens, But I think the training just keeps you balanced. Like when you go into work after doing an hour here on the floor and you're crawling off the floor, you feel like getting sick after doing your Tabata, you're getting kicked around the place by Ross, you know what I mean? And then Scott's up there and he's doing his kata and you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And then you go into work, everything just seems calm. And it's like, oh, we got a problem here, we got a problem. Relax, we got it. You're just more zen to the whole day and to how you approach each day. Each challenge, because this challenge is thrown at me every 5 minutes, whether it's through an email, whether it's through an issue in the kitchen, whether it's through a chef being sick or whatever it is, you're constantly on your toes.
So it's like you're saying, if you start your day with a brutal Tabata session, nothing else can faze you that day.
Not really, You have to be very surprised.
The power of karate.
The power of karate.
So, like, I was watching I know I think we all watched it, the Gordon Ramsay Hot Ones interview.
Yeah.
And at the end, there's a lovely, like, as funny as it was watching Gordon Ramsay spew up on hot wings. If you haven't watched it, check it out. It's hilarious on YouTube. But there's a bit at the end, for anyone who's interested in seeing the connection, where he's talking about different chefs that he's worked with over the years and the different personalities, the different expertise that each chef has. Yeah. And I was watching that going, oh, that's just the way you would describe karate senseis and their individuality and the things that they're always good at, and then the things that they bring that's unique to the table. Do you see like a connection between that and like your cooking, like your personality coming out in your cooking? Is the same sort of thing that can be said with your karate, do you think?
100%. I could probably tell you, going through each kata, where certain senseis have influenced me, and not just senseis I've trained with long term like Aiden or Scott Sensei, whoever. I'm talking about training with Dave Hazard just maybe 5 or 6, 8, 9 times over my whole life. You know what I mean? I go, oh, he fixed, Dave Hazard Sensei fixed my back stance, my kukutsudachi. He opened up my eyes to a whole new world. He just moved my body a certain way, and he was like, and it was just, the lights went on. The lights went on, literally. It was like, that is ridiculous. And I think, when you're training with people, like, of course you pick up different I said you pick up different recipes from different chefs, you pick up different tips from different senseis, and it's how you amalgamate it into your own karate. And obviously when you're training up and you're coming up to Shodan, up to Nidan, you still have to be a bit of a sponge and take on everything. But I think as you start getting towards Sandan, Yondan, you have to start going, right, I can't kick like him, I can't punch like him, he's big and strong, I'm small and, you know, I'm not scrawny, but I'm small, you know what I mean? So how do I make my karate work? And then that's when you have to start looking deeper, going, okay, well, that's not really going to work for me. I will never be able to kick like Aidan Trimble, so enough of that. But I can use my body like Aidan Trimble and do a pretty good kick in the gut, you know, and those kind of things. And I think you have to just look very closely at what people are doing and look, I don't want to get too deep into this, but you have to look beyond the technique, I guess, and go, what is he really doing here? Is he
You're
punching?
good, and you can say those kinds of things. It's okay.
Yeah.
So
But-
we get laughed at if we say
And that's
it.
it, like, and it's, yeah, I think it's, you know, you'd like, I mean, it's, like, there's so much to learn. There's so much micromanaging of, someone needs to go out and shoot that bird. There's so much micromanaging of your body when you're doing any single technique or any single drill. Don't mind a drill. If you just pick one technique, you look what's going on in Aggie UK. You look what's going on in Aggie UK, for example. Like, there's so much going on there alone, but you're bringing your body in, you're closing, you're crossing your hands, and you put it, you can't see, and you have to lift it up, and is it one fist above the head, or is it, no, don't get caught up in that. No, it should be this, and it should be that way, and it's like, it should be the way that it works. And that's how you work. I mean, if Ross is punching me, I have to push it a bit higher, connect more. If Rue's attacking me, I might have to connect in a different way because of the size variance. So you're constantly micromanaging your body to different styles. But I think at the end of the day, the technique should always be the same. And it's learning how to use your body. Scott says, learn how to use your body,
Yeah.
which is so important. And it takes years to understand
Yeah.
that.
And I think we were talking a little bit earlier about, certain people who get hung up on maybe one particular sensei, and they take that sensei's word as law and shut themselves off from the rest, which is a mistake. You know, like you say, you should steal from everyone. I mean, I remember, like, Scott Sensei does a fantastic Sochin. Like, and we'll do Sochin with Scott Sensei, you know, all the time. You know, like, there's
Constantly challenging us, you know.
constantly doing it, and he's constantly, you know, like, we're trying to sort of emulate his Sochin in a little bit, and there's things that he's like, he can always pick us apart when we're practicing it. But then we were in a course with Rick Holton Sensei, and he was doing the exact same thing. Like, he was saying the same things, like Scott Sensei always says, relax. But then I remember he came up and literally, like, he touched my arm and was like, oh yeah, very good, Ross, but just and he just shook it a little bit and loosened it, and I was like, oh my god, how tense am I? I'm thinking of,
He came up to me, then straight after, he just touched me in the shoulders, and I think I just melted. I don't know what happened.
I remember turning to each other,
We're
we were like, oh my god,
oh my
we're so tense.
Another light bulb.
And you know, the way that he thinks when his thought process when doing techniques is completely different to Scott Sensei's thought process.
Yeah.
And sometimes just even hearing just a different way of, they're both agreeing with the same way that should be done, but they're just explaining it in a slightly different way, and that small difference can change your perspective on what your body's
Everything.
doing, like,
Absolutely
completely.
everything, yeah.
Um,
It's crazy, like, you know, like, I mean, small things, you know, and there's so much to learn, there's so much to remember. Like, you forget the fact that just your kata, you have to learn, okay, you're doing front stance, you can't move your front knee, and you're trying to compress into your back leg, and don't strain your back leg, you keep your leg turned in, and you're trying to do hanmi, you're trying to do shoman, you're trying to do the punch, the kick. It's just so much going on. You keep your toes up, you keep your toes down, you keep your heel out, you keep your heel in. It's just, it's nanas when you think about it, like, you know, when you're explaining, like, I was showing, you know, Nicola last week how to try and punch, and she was just like, yeah, it's much kind of harder than it looks. You know, and that was just the first punch, the first thing we learned, you know, and it's mental, you know.
Yeah,
It's
and it's like different when you're teaching, you know, like we're teaching white belt kids all the time how to punch, and if you're happy if they're just putting the correct arm forward, you know. But when you're trying to, if you try and show a complete beginner adult how to punch like a Godan, a Shodan, or even just a Shodan or a Nidan Sandan, like you're trying to show them how to punch like an experienced karaka, that's a different ballgame altogether. There's so much nuance going on that you know, they don't appreciate. I don't think people appreciate how tricky it can be sometimes. Just Chokazuki.
Yeah.
When you start breaking that down and what your body needs to be doing, there's 100 things going on at
It's
once.
amazing, and we take it for granted as well, like, you know, because we just do it.
Yeah.
Rattle out 100 or Chokuzukis, whatever it is, Yakuzukis, no, boom, 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 boom. But when you think about it, you have to break it down and explain it to someone else. You're like, God, yeah, it's all going on, you know, which is great. Like,
So you were talking about Dave Hazard being an influence, Aidan Trimble being an influence. Is there anyone outside of Scott Sensei? And I know you really like Rick Houghton Sensei, but is there anyone else who you've trained with that gave you an eye opener? Is there a little nugget, a golden nugget that you've experienced from
Think of
other
any
people?
examples. Well, my dad was my first karate teacher, so all the nuts and bolts, the very basics, I got from him. So he's a very important influence. Although the way I do karate now is million miles from the way I used to do karate with him. He came from a very different school. He came from the KUGB, harder, faster, stronger school. And the way we do things here is a lot more nuanced, a lot more attention to detail, a lot more mindful. So my biggest influence has been Scott Sensei. My second biggest influence has been you, Ross Sensei. Because when I was training here, before I became an instructor, when I was just a student, I spent probably twice as many hours training under you as I did under Scott.
Yeah.
So, you know, that says
Forget that
something.
sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. And what else? I had a really I've trained a few times with Richard Amos Sensei. He was, you know, head of the panel the time I got my black belt, so I guess you could say he gave me Shodan.
Yeah.
Well, you would say that, yeah.
that was a great, and you did really good for your Shodan.
Oh, thank you.
You nailed that.
And
It's true, he did, he nailed it.
He did-
and then
I
there was
wasn't
there
but
was
I'm
a
sure he
course
did.
with him a few years later down in Cork, and I asked him a question about agayuke, and he just explained something about, say your your left fist is in hikite, and you're bringing it up to make agayuke, and there's an open pectoral here when you're in hikite, and then you close it as your fist comes across, and then as your fist comes up above your head, this has to open again, so you have to close on the top of your shoulder, and it was about it was a really micro way of looking at where's the contraction, where's the expansion. Well, we're just throwing up a few agayukes here, folks, and then he made me mindful of this compression on the top of my shoulder, like at the deltoid sort of area. And then he started pushing down on my agayuke, and he started putting all his weight. He's a big, strong guy. And my agayuke wouldn't budge. And I was like, Sensei,
Yosh.
amazing. Thank you so much. Oh. So that was a great wee moment.
I spent a month with Richard Amos Sensei over in New York, and that month was that was a big. It's just a good eye opener because again, senseis, you can have senseis who, again, senseis at a certain level all develop their own style, their own karate, and we're constantly exposed to a very good high level of karate. In my opinion, I think Scott's level of karate is very, very high, and he's an excellent teacher and instructor. But I think that month I spent with Richard Amos just showed you that, you know, nothing is set in stone, and it's not that one sensei has the correct answer and one has the wrong answer. It's just that there are many ways of doing the same thing. You know, like Yakuzuki is Yakuzuki, but like depending on your body type, you throw it completely different. Your body, like you were saying earlier on, you have to adjust to your opponent's body types if you're training with someone, and you have to adjust to your own body type. And you know, you can again steal from everyone. And Richard Amos Sensei, especially, like, you know, I'm a good bit taller than Scott Sensei. You know, there's a couple of things in there that, you know, his compact body can do a little bit easier than, you know, someone with, you know, legs as big and as long as mine. You know, and then there's certain things that Scott's build, his frame, he's a lot broader in the shoulders like myself, whereas Richard Sensei's quite long and lean. You know, and there's things that Scott Sensei's karate suits me much more than Richard Sensei's karate. But I think that being exposed to that and being forced to change, completely adapt to his style of karate for a full
100%,
month.
yeah.
So you do a month of just adapting to the way he does things, and then having the ability to do both, I think is you know, such a benefit. And I think that's what you always want to be, in the middle of the spectrum. You know, don't be at either end. You know, that whippy karate to that completely connected
There's a
karate.
huge balance there
Be able
for
to
films, you know.
come into the middle and be able to, when you're asked to whip things out, whip them out. When you're asked to connect completely.
I think that's the great thing about kata then, is that you can apply all of those principles to any kata, you know, and you can mix it in and mix it out and pull it in and pull it out as you go along, you know, and you can have the whippy and you can have the connected, you can have the strong, you can have the soft, you can have the circular or the straight, you know, you can have all the different nuances of what we do in there, you know, and you can be challenging, like, just certain moves that you can see, like, that really work with Richard Sensei's style of karate, like in, say, Heian Godan, where we're like, go dun, 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 and we go one, and then we go yosh. At the end, you know, we go that full from Yamazuki all the way into Aizuki in not Hensanan. You know, like that long, and then you have other ones like other katas like that really suits Gon Sensei, like Teki Sandan.
I mean,
like, that is ridiculous.
ridiculous.
It's
The
just-
mornings we when we go through katas, and there will be one day of the month where Scott will go, okay, let's do Teki Sandan, and it's the last 10 minutes just to finish off the session, and I mean, the speed is
It's
fucking
out of
unreal,
control.
yeah?
It's out of control. It really is.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
you blink and you miss it.
100%. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Scott's way of doing that is just fantastic, and that kata
That's
leads himself
amazing
to it, because Scott says he has that massive range of motion in his shoulders
Yeah.
that most people just don't have. Yeah, he's got a lot of flexibility in his upper body. So when he's when you're in that sort of locked kibadachi, and there's very little movement that you can do with your hips,
He's
that
so
shoulder
much
whip
range
comes
of
in so
movement,
much, and he can just whip techniques out. Whereas guys who aren't as flexible in their upper body probably have to slow it
Yeah.
down a bit and connect a bit
100%,
more
yeah.
to make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so guys, steal from everyone. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Steal from everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Be selfish.
you've had quite a glamorous history of competing.
I guess so, yeah.
You've told me this year you're going to slow down a little bit with the competition. Why you decided?
I think I am, yeah. I mean, I think to think with competition, I've done it, competing for, I suppose, I suppose 20 odd years now at this stage, I remember I did my first competition was in 1990. The first big one I did was in 1999. I did Teki Shodan. Now I have a history of making an arse of doing Teki Shodan. Right?
I've seen it like
in competition floors.
plenty of
Yeah,
times, man.
it
Oh my
always
God.
freaks me out for some reason, and I love it. It's one of my favourite katas, but I always make an arse of it when I'm under pressure for some reason. I just can't do it. And again, 1990, I was thinking it was athletics competition up in Waterford, and bang. Okay, called out. Two of us out there. Grand kata, Teki Shodan. Not a bother. I know Teki Shodan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Complete arse of it. And surprise, I lost. That was fine, no problem. But even I think it was a year ago, 2 years ago. I skipped a few moves as well,
You're moving so fast, like the judges know it's so bad. I was watching going, the fuck's he doing? Like,
I was like probably laughing, yeah. But
he adds in extra key eyes to Kaz as well.
I
all
do.
the fucking
I
time.
do.
Like, every time.
I do. I always like to ki at the end. I think it's just a building of energy. I think it's great, You ki as much as possible. It's deadly. But I've competed a lot. It took me a long time to kind of get into my own flow and realise that okay, I can actually do kata quite well. I was never a fighter really. I was never just any good at it. You know what I mean? I like the nasty stuff. I don't like competition kumite anyway. You know what I mean? It's just not for me. I think like the prime age, I suppose, where you would have got your body maybe right for training for competition. I guess I missed that. I think I missed the bus on that, I reckon, So, but again, when it gets into the nitty-gritty dirty stuff, and I like all that kind of stuff, that's where it is, So, but like as regards kata and competitions, I'm kind of a bit over it in a sense. Like I've got a fair few medals now and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And got a couple of European medals, and obviously Ross, we were in Amsterdam a couple of years ago. We took the gold for the team kata. Yeah. I came second in the individual kata and stuff like that, And we got a world championship medal there 2 years ago down in Cork with whoever it was, those guys, and stuff like that. So I've got a few, like a lot of country competitions and stuff like that, different associations and stuff. And it does take time, and it's floor time. It's getting out on the floor and just getting used to the crowd staring at you. Yeah. And just going, you know what, this is my kata, like it or lump it, that's it. But I think what's getting to me now is the fact that I'm happy with my karate, end of, and there's certain people I respect, and then there's other people that I think are keyboard warriors that are quite happy to sit behind the keyboard and go, I think you should do this, and I think you should be doing more of that. And there's people like that are mouthpieces as well, going, okay, well, maybe you should do this, and if you did that, you might have got an extra point. And I'm like, kind of saying, so are you competing today? Oh, no, you're not. So why do you have the right to judge if you're not going to go out and put yourself out there on a pedestal? Yeah. And that's what really got to me over the last couple of years, is these people they have all the knowledge and they have all the answers, yet they're not willing to put themselves out there and go, you know what, I'm going to give it a go too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and the tricky thing is that, being exposed to like a very, say, traditional dojo here, like in terms of the way Scott teaches karate, it's not for competition whatsoever. No. It is a very, I would say traditional way of doing it, if that's the right word. And it's tricky when you're trying to develop kata to be your own baby.
Yeah.
You know, it's your own
Absolutely.
baby, and you're trying to develop it for you. That's what Scott tries to emphasise in the dojo, is that, you know, the kit should flow nicely. You shouldn't be superficial at any point, and competition is very superficial.
Absolutely.
So it's very difficult for, you know if you're moving correct, as like, you know, you're trying to get every aspect of the kata as perfect as you can in terms of the fundamentals, the principles, and then you see somebody go out after you on the mat who does or standing beside you on the mat who does it's fast, but he's taking shortcuts. He's breaking, he's like
skipping moves, jumping up and
breaking center
down,
line. He's, you know, those long
short
stupid
stepping through,
pauses and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and it just, they're slapping their dogi all over the place to try and, you know, emphasize that they're moving strong when really, you know, there's nothing behind anything that they're doing.
Absolutely, and I did.
It's very frustrating.
And I did fall into that trap for a while myself. I started trying to copy the WKF style, and I did it for competitions for a while, and I was getting nowhere. I was getting worse, I think, to be honest. You know, and then I was like, okay, Yami, back to basics here, back to what I know, stick with traditional stuff, and it does stand out. You know, and I've won some of the Onikai competitions. I've won it 2 or 3 years in a row, and had all these guys coming under pretty doggies and stuff, and they were jumping and flapping around and just kind of crap, you know. And instead of just the end product, the finished technique, the crisp, clean finish, the traditional tight, strong, loose karate that we do, you know what I mean? It's just natural, you know.
I mean, I remember the end of last year, I was over at Steve Bale's, teaching Steve Bale's and Amanda and Dave Gisby's dojos. And Steve had me up in his house for the weekend, and we had the big TV on, and we put on the World Championships, WKF ones, and we watched the men's kata final. Yeah. We turned it on just in time to watch the final, and we watched the 2 guys doing the kata, and honestly, you couldn't tell them apart. Like, they were so, it's like a line of robots, you know. Yeah. They're all doing the exact same thing. Whereas when you look back in the day at the All Japan finals, when you look at those legends of back in the day, they had such individuality. Nobody done Sochin the same way. Nobody,
Kagawas, Kawawadas, Chuyas, they were all so different. They were all so unique, and they were all so amazing in their own right. Do you know what I mean? They were just
absolutely. And I think that the problem with sport is that you have to have a standard. Like, this is why you won. And then you say to everyone, he won because of this. So then everyone's like, well, that's what we have to do to win. Yeah. And then it just sort of narrows that sort of create that individuality that you can have in kata, which I think is something that's, when you see it, it's really special. Yeah. And when you look at really good, I think, traditional senseis, like you look at the way Rick Houghton does kata, he has his own little personality on it. You look at the way Richard does kata, he's got his own personality in there. Scott has his own personality, and you can. What's lovely is that you can see the influences that have come before them. Yeah. So you have a nice little nod to the past in everyone's kata as well. You know, the way Scott does his kiyagis and his sochin is exactly like Kagawa's. Like, it's beautiful. Yeah. And then you look at if Richard Sensei does Unsu, you can see a lot of
Yahara written all over it, and Abe, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Sensei says when he talks about, you know, somebody asked him a question about standardising the kata across the HDKI, and he said, no, because all that does is it makes everyone the same, and you want to be able to see the sensei that taught you, like a sort of a small reflection of them in their students, you know, and each student should reflect their sensei in some way or another, you know, or the people that have influenced them. Yeah. Wouldn't you agree, Roo?
Us.
So Tommy, Roo is ramping up quickly, I think.
Absolutely,
I think he'll be on him before he knows it, but his Nidan's coming up.
We were just talking about it this morning in the dressing room. I was saying we need to crack on. We'll get Kangeko out of the way in our next couple of days. We'll get our bodies back to normal next week, and we're going to start eating into his kata, which is MP.
MP, yeah.
MP.
Yeah. You were there for my showdown, Tommy.
I was.
I need you there for my Nidan
I'll be there, buddy.
My lucky
with
charm.
bells. With bells, yeah. So MP, why did you pick MP?
It was picked for me. Well, not necessarily. I said I was thinking either MP or Gion, and when I mentioned that, it came up, and Scott Sensei was there, and he said MP, and I said us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he said it should be my kata. Can't remember exactly why he said that.
I can tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because you're 60-something kilos.
It's your body type. It's your body.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
It
suits you.
It's a very. I think it's a very good one for
for light people. Yeah.
People.
For light people.
A lot of changing height, changing direction.
Yeah.
You know,
That's why they call it the flight of the swallow, right? Because it's up and down. A swallow's a very small and light thing.
yeah.
Have to be like a swallow.
Could be your spirit animal.
Cool.
How are you feeling about it?
I don't know. I don't know if this is correct or not. But I've gotten a feeling since I started working here that. So obviously I'm a student of Scott's and I'm a student of yours, but I think my relationship as a student to Scott and to you is different than your average student sensei relationship. So I think the standard that I'm going to be held to for my grading, not necessarily higher than other people's, but it's going to be, what am I trying to say?
There'll be more pressure.
There'll be more pressure because in a way I work here, people, when we have visitors from abroad, they come to Kangeko, they join in the training. In a way I'm representative of the dojo and I want to represent the dojo. I want to do the best I can. So whenever I'm told I'm ready and it's time to boogie and it's time to go for second dan, then I'll stand up and go for it. And in the meantime, I'm just going to carry on trying to prepare myself.
I mean, I think it's all about potential, yeah. And if you think about what you're doing, you're teaching full time, you're training full time. Not only you're training full time, but you're training in the mornings with the sort of the like morning training we do here is like unless we have guests, it's open to just about all guests, like sort of brown belt and above.
Yeah.
Or with maybe a few exceptions, you know, depending. But it tends to be, you know, on the average day of the week, it's invite only. So and it's Scott's discretion of whether you get invited or not. And if you do get invited, you are held to a higher standard when it comes to things like gradings, or just how you perform on courses, your attitude during training, especially outside the dojo. And I think it's fair to say that you are held to a higher standard, not because, you know, you should be better than everyone else, but because, you know, that for what you're doing, you should be.
You have the opportunity to be better than
you
everyone
have the
else.
opportunity to be better than everyone else.
I guess I'm training a lot more than most people, so I should be improving at a higher rate.
And
so I'm going to be held to that standard.
And a much more intense level. I mean, you're committed to this like 100%, you know. And I think that it wouldn't be fair to hold other people to the same standard because other people are training, you know. They've got full-time jobs, like 2-3 times, you know, they're training 2-3 times a week as opposed to us who get a chance to move around every day, you know. So I think, to say that you're held to a higher standard, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I think that's the way it should be for people in our position.
Okay.
But yeah, so and what is it you think that, like, have you got a plan? Like, so because people preparing for gradings, I think some people sort of just get sprung on them. Oh, you know what? I think you're going to grade next month. But you've been told, like Scott Sensei always tends to give us a long time to really have a think to be able to decide ourselves what it is that our weaknesses are, what our strengths are, and what we need to improve on. So, what do you think you know, what's going to be your battle plan in terms of getting ready for this? Like,
well,
for this year,
I've been. It's been on my mind since I started working here. It's not a recent thing, you know, and I realised that everything needed drastic improvement. So I'm working on everything. I'm trying to be mindful of every aspect of my technique, and then now and then I try and break it down. So, for example, I spent 2 weeks with all my classes, even the white belts, working on Mawashigeri because I wanted to work on Mawashigeri. The Nidan syllabus has 2 different combinations with Mawashigeri in it. My Mawashigeri is still pretty bad, but it's better than it was before those 2 weeks of intensive Mawashi training. So
I was ripping into breakfast this morning. Mawashigeri,
So so now and again I refocus and I like narrow down my focus onto one little thing or two, but generally I'm just trying to focus on everything. When we spar in the mornings, every time when we're in morning training and we're told to pair up when we start fighting, I think these next 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes are going to go towards my grading because it's going to be the first time I'm going to be doing freestyle kumite in a grading. I'm thinking about my grading in that moment. When we're practicing MP, it was kata of the month in the competition class. We were breaking it down. I was just thinking about my grading. I was thinking of getting it right for my grading. Yeah. We practiced MP the other morning, didn't we?
We done it yesterday, yeah?
Yesterday morning with our Swedish guests. And it had actually been a while since I'd looked at it and since I'd practiced it. And it felt really good, having come back to it after a break. And the things that I had been practicing seemed to have paid off a little bit, so a little bit of return on my efforts there. It felt really good.
Yeah, you need to take a break from it every now and then and walk away, you know,
Yeah.
and then just to change your body and your mind a bit.
I find like training yourself, like sometimes sometimes you hit a plateau and you need to like, and if you try and push through it, you get disheartened because you're not improving.
Yeah.
at all. You need to take a step back, work on do a 180 and go in the other direction sometimes, and then when you come back to it, the plateau's gone and you go even further. That's what I find with my own training, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah. You need to walk away from it and just go, right, we've done it now, I'm going to go to a heavy kata for a while, work on that a bit, and then you can link the heaviness to the lightness and the lightness to the heaviness and vice versa, you know.
I mean, just the other day we were walking through Unsu and we were spending quite a lot of time practicing like the bit that I find impossible in Unsu is dropping down to the floor for those fucking kicks. And I hadn't done it in ages, and then we dropped down yesterday and I found myself hips going around, switching really easily. I was like, oh, that's it. You know?
Yeah.
So hopefully it sticks.
Absolutely, yeah.
It sticks
Yeah,
after
they
a
do
while,
stick after a while, yeah. It's just repetition. Hours, months, years.
Hours, months, years. Kiss the elbows.
Absolutely. You said it, buddy.
Inside joke.
So Tommy, you Kangeko week is always a fun week because we're getting up early. I mean, that's not news for yourself. You know, you go into the kitchen early and stuff. But we all get up early. We all train early in the morning. It's the first thing we're doing is kick off the day. And yourself, you taught a very nice class on the Wednesday. So much so that I stole it.
He did steal it, and he actually coined it. It was Wayne Otter's drill.
Well, it was a Wayne Otter's drill,
probably
but it
was
had the
it,
same
yeah.
principles as your class.
Yeah.
But like we just said earlier on, man, steal everything. So I steal a lot from Tommy. Tommy's my, you know, me and Rue talked about this a lot. Like, you know, egos on the dojo and stuff. Tommy's, you know, that guy who I try and outdo on the dojo all the time, and you know, I almost never do it, but you always try and outdo him. I try and outdo him in kata. He tries to outdo me in kumite, and it's a nice, friendly little rivalry that we have going on, and it just helps us improve.
Absolutely, it's good. Like, it's off the dojo, it's friendship, and then on the dojo, we're out to get each other in a nice way, in a healthy, competitive way. You know,
exactly.
Which you need that, like, you know.
That's it, you know. It's good. But you taught a nice class on Kangeko. What's been your favourite Kangeko class so far, or favourite aspect from each Kangeko class so far? And
favourite aspect of each class. Ooh, let's think about that. I don't know if I have a favourite aspect. I just like the fact that the training is quite intense. You know, like the morning class has been pretty intense after Kangeko. I mean, like, if it's hard, like Kangeko, we go for a run, we get in at 7, quick warm up, we're out the door for a run, just for anybody who doesn't know, for about 20 minutes, then we're back in about 7:30, 25 to 8. We have a quick stretch, then the sensei of the day will come on, whether it's Ross, Rue, me, whoever it is, and you've got about 25 minutes really, which is not a lot of time to get a concept across. So, you know, and then you've got everyone from mummies, daddies, kids, you know, to Scott Sensei at the top of the class, and you know, it's a tough audience, you know, to teach anything.
And you always have a nice group at the top of the class taking the piss.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be Kangeko if you didn't have somebody, you know, taking the piss. Absolutely. So you've got really about 18 minutes there. By the time you put in the challenge, by the time you give people time to practice the drill, you're probably actually less, about 15 minutes of actually teaching time on the floor. Yeah. So you have to be very clever with what you pick, you know what I mean? And like, what did I do this morning? He did Gohan Suki, quite nice. He put it together quite well. And Rue was talking about yesterday, really nice class about music, and Kazamazuki Yakuzuki and the rhythm. You know, who else is teaching this week? John Sensei went mental and he was doing loads of street fighting, then he went into kicking and, you know, again, but it was nice, it was raw, it was pure, you know, it was good old harder, stronger, tougher karate, which has a place as well for sure, you know. Yeah. And, you know, I did a little kind of drill based on just slightly moving off to the side, and like a lot of what Scott Sensei teaches, like Scott Sensei does loads of punching, so like punching is kind of important, I guess, you know, so you know, it's important, you know, and like moving off the side, that back leg drive, you know, I just try to tie those things together a little bit, you know, in my eyes, in its simplest, purest form, you know. So you know, like, yeah, I mean, it's I think the intensity of the training is the best part, you know, because you're tired, you're getting up at 6:15 in the morning, and you're going, Jesus Christ Almighty, I'm going back to bed. You know, like, no, it's Philip training, and you're gone. You know, so you don't. You know, so your body kind of goes into automatic, and you know, like Monday's class was quite tough, a lot of squats and stuff. I still feel them, to be honest. You know, and then Tuesday, Tabata was full on, and Wednesday, a lot of Kumite. Like yesterday's class was great. I think Scott Sensei did a cracking class yesterday. Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. You know, and it was just really descriptive and really, you know, and you really see it when you're here, like, how much you've progressed. Like, I've been here, what, 4 years now, and I remember coming here. Like, my first class was at Tubes on a Thursday. It was literally the first class I did in dojo morning training was Tubes. Sure, well, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, like, and I was okay, I got through it. And then the next class was the Tuesday, which was the Tabata. And, you know, well,
yeah.
you know, I got
Nobody's
through it, but, you know, like, when you don't know the
easy.
drill, you know, it's just like, oh, yeah, just go, just do it. You know, it's like, okay, how long are we doing this for? I'm going to die. But, you know, like, it's, I think the intensity of the week is the most enjoyable part, that you have to be on your game, especially, I think, us in a dojo, like, it's, you know, the guys who are training all the time, you really need to represent, and you really go, this is the Hombu Dojo for a reason. And we are hopefully getting to the top of our game because we train hard, we train honestly, we train purely, you know, we mix it up, we're always looking at different ideas, whether walking like animals, you know, and all these kind of things we do. When we see a drill, I'll send you a drill roster, like, oh, I've got to practice this, and we see a challenge, and you're like, oh yeah, let's try this, and you know, like the challenge I did with the handstand, all those kind of things, you know, like they're all things that just add to your artillery of, you know, training mechanisms, you know what I mean? So I think it's a great week. It's tough, but it's very rewarding, you know, very rewarding.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I think that's a good note to finish on.
Yeah.
Yosh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yosh.
Okay, but before we finish, we have to get Tommy Sensei's fails of the week.
Fail of the week. My favourite part of the podcast.
Yeah. Fails of the week. So
A personal fail.
Personal fail is probably about an hour ago. When we went for breakfast and we were up paying, and I was like, whatever. I said, okay, I'll pay for Scott Sensei. So I said, grand. So I told the waitress the order. I was like, okay, so this and that and this and that. Yep, grand. She's like, whatever, 20 quid. So I gave her the 20 quid, and I was like, I turned to Scott Sensei and said, right, Scott Sensei, I paid for you, don't worry about it. I was like, oh, cheers, man. So I walked out anyway, and you know, Pip and Pop, Ross and Rue were outside the window, and we're chatting away. And next thing, Scott Sensei has his face looking at me through the window going, come back in. I was like, what's wrong? I was like, you didn't pay for me. And I was like, I did. She's like, no, you didn't, because she didn't understand me. So I was like, okay, fair.
We're shouting out through the cafe window.
Yeah, there was fades coming through the window from the elite here. And I think the funniest fail of the week was definitely Karen getting kicked by Scott.
Yeah.
His face. His face was gold. Definitely.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, Scott Sensei interrupted whose Kangeko class?
John's.
Interrupted John Sensei's Kangeko class just to kick Karen a little bit to show us all how to do it properly.
Very
Scott's
funny.
is fucking stupid, man.
It's ridiculously
he's like,
fast.
he's been kicking me like with my Gary a lot in classes recently, actually. Yeah. And he was like, and he kicks you, and he's like, your face is grimacing a bit, and he's like, I have perfect control. What are you doing flinching? Why are you moving? Why are you? And I'm like, you have no fucking idea.
Yeah, your perfect control is still so painful.
Your kick is like, as my Gary is. It's like Richard says in his fucking blocks, man.
Yeah.
He's when he does like a Garambarai to your my Gary, he fucking cuts your leg in half. He literally cut your leg.
He literally
open.
cut my leg, yeah, in court
cut
last
your
year.
leg
He
one
literally
leg
cut
open,
my
man.
leg, yeah.
How do you cut somebody with your arm? That's amazing.
He was going for me. Grr. I'll get you back.
Yeah.
I'll get you back. Probably won't.
If you're listening, Richard
Probably won't.
Sensei, there's an open challenge there for both.
Absolutely, yeah.
Was it where they challenged each other for dojos? What was that?
Yeah.
But yeah, and Scott's like, oh, I've got perfect control. Fucking no idea how much his kicks hurt.
Yeah,
but watching it, did somebody else having to deal with it?
Oh, it's very funny. It's great.
It's great fun. Rue, you got fail of the week so far?
Today, there was one of our Swedish visitors did a first Q grading after our Kangeko class, and I was lined up alongside him just to have somebody there with him, so he didn't feel, well, I suppose just because usually doing a grading you have somebody going up and down with you. So there I was, and I ended up messing up the first Q syllabus. Like I did this first of all. Scott called out a combo, and I didn't understand. And I said, "Excuse me, Sensei,
I didn't understand that either. I
tell
was
me the
looking at it
combo
going,
one
I
more
haven't
time."
seen that before.
And so he explained it in minute detail, and then off we went, and I forgot to ki. Well, at least maybe I took some of the pressure off.
Well, that was the one where he said, "Do it again in Ki." Like,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
really pissy, like.
Exactly. And but then your man passed, so congratulations to him. First Q pass in the dojo this morning.
Mine happened today as well. Funnily enough, fucking day of fails. But it was like we have the thing like when we're up teaching and you ask people to change partners, you have to change partners as fast as you can, and you have like 5 seconds to do it. And if you don't have a partner, you get press ups, and that's something for the kids because the kids are normally really slow and stuff. But I was paired up with Tommy for the start of the class, and then he said, like AJ Sensei was teaching, and I didn't hear him at first, but then I seen everyone dart for partners, and then lo and behold, the Billy No Mates over here, like I had no pals.
Because I saw him wondering, like, he's gonna fail.
Everyone's giggling and stuff, and then was it you that was like,
That was me.
"Butler Sensei didn't have a partner."
Yeah, that was me.
And it turns out, but the annoying thing was, I had to do press ups, and everyone's fucking kicking me and it's sitting on me and stuff while I was doing press ups.
Such
And then it turns
respect.
out there was fucking like 6 kids who didn't have partners as well, so I could have grabbed all the kids if I wanted to, but yeah, embarrassing.
Hilarious.
Super embarrassing.
Hilarious.
But yeah, that's my fucking fail of the week so far. We've still got 2 days to see what's going on, and we'll get everyone else's fails at the end of Kangeko.
That's how we stay humble, folks.
Yeah,
Acknowledging our own failures.
with the help of and support,
Support of
everyone
your
else in the
colleagues.
dojo.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much,
Yep.
Tommy Sensei.
Yep.
Very much appreciated.
Oos.